Can you take us back to that day in 1986? It was what, Landover, Maryland?
Right.
What were you thinking before you got in the car? How much planning had you done before you drove to the Capitol Center?
Well, Heavy Metal Parking Lot is the title that kind of these many years later still is pretty much front and center in my resume and body of work. And it was a collaboration between myself and John Hein, somebody who I had become friends with and started working with. We both were aspiring documentary filmmakers, but this was around in 1986, in our mid-20s. We struck upon this idea to go interview metal fans, heavy metal fans, in their natural environment, if you will, which was the parking lot of a concert arena. And in our case, the local concert arena was the Capitol Center in Maryland, outside of Washington, D.C. Just your standard concrete concert, multi-purpose arena, which had sporting events and concerts, among other things. But it happened to be Judas Priest. It was a beautiful spring night, May 31st, 1986, and we just went there with the public access cameras that I had. I was running a studio, a community television studio. So John and I took these cameras, professional cameras, 3/4-inch cameras, U-matic tape and clunky by today's standards, but professional at the time, and we just went out into the parking lot of the Capitol Center, paid our way in like any concert goer, but instead brought this equipment, camera and recording deck out and started wandering the parking lot, interviewing anybody who came up to us. We didn't have to solicit much input. They were all very accommodating, and it was a real novelty. I mean, who would have thought you wouldn't have expected to see a camera crew wandering a concert parking lot. But the idea really came from John Hein. He was the one who had the idea. I had the equipment, and we we went in. I paid, driving my '78 Bonneville, in like any other concert goer, paid our $5 admission to parking, paid our fee to park, and just that's how it started.
And did you or John have a list of questions beforehand, or were you almost like winging it, like let's just see what happens? We could get kicked out.
Bingo. We actually, what happened was we had an idea that it would be colorful and entertaining, but we also were not metal fans. Excuse me, we were not metalheads. We were familiar with the music and familiar with the culture because it was very very popular. Even if the music wasn't getting played on hit radio, it was still part of the culture. Hair metal, heavy metal could fill concert arenas even without hits, so to speak. So it was all around you, but we were the farthest thing from metalheads. But we were very curious, and that was, I think, really at the root of this. We were just going to kind of wing it and see what we got, wandering around with this camera and microphone. And we had no agenda. We had no, we had no interest in putting words in people's mouths. We were not, trying to make, we were not trying to make fun of anybody. We just wanted to see what would happen, and it all just kind of unfolded in a very real and real sense, and organic sense and anthropological sense. I don't know. All these people have said things about it that were not intended when we made it, but we're very grateful to now be talking about it almost 30 years later.
And so how much time did you actually spend in that parking lot? Once you parked that car, that Bonneville, what was the time frame?
We were in the parking lot for 2 hours. We probably rolled in at 4 o'clock. Let's see, the concert would have started at 7. I don't even know, or 8 maybe? That seems kind of late. But I remember us being in the concert parking lot for about 2 hours because we only had at a little over an hour. We had 4 tapes, 4 20-minute tapes. So that's an hour and 20 minutes. And once we filled those up, we were done. So it was a very low shooting ratio, and which is kind of unbelievable even to me right now. But we only had 4 surplus U-matic tapes. They weren't even brand new tapes. We just took them from the stockpile of the cable company. And so all of this is it's not how I would do it now. Do a lot different. Brand new tape, a lot bigger shooting ratio, would get a lot more content. But at the time we just struck gold with just that hour and 10, 20 minutes. Not even. I don't think we even filled up the fourth tape. A lot of the raw footage was us just kind of, we went back and looked at the original tapes some years later, and to see what we had left on the cutting room floor. And there's not much. Most of what we got that was really great, what went into the finished piece.
So what was the prevailing commentary from these people? I know they talked about Madonna, punk rock, Ronald Reagan, but what was the underlying theme? Was it just, we're here to party, we're young, we're kind of carefree, we love Judas Priest, we love Rob Halford?
Well, I think it was really just, like I've been a concert goer. I mean, I remember what it was like to, be passionate and excited about music or whatever music was, the soundtrack that I rallied around. So I knew, you weren't expecting any kind of great, Nobel laureate commentary from anybody out in an environment like this. And then if you add, alcohol or stronger, then it's even more unlikely to have any kind of discourse beyond just what people were saying, which was, their excitement about their music, their favorite music, and what they were there to do that night. It was really kind of tribal. And one of my favorite reviews of Heavy Metal Parking Lot was around the time, not long after we started showing it. This was a local review in the Washington City paper, and it said that the filmmakers don't reveal themselves to be any brighter than the people that are being interviewed, which was great. It was totally, which was, I thought, perfect, because we really weren't asking anything more, who are you here to see tonight? There wasn't anything, or are you here to party? Are you having a good time? And then basically everybody just took it from there. So we were kind of one and the same in that sense.